What's going on, everybody? This is Brian Mazique, aka Unique Mazique, the hardest working man in sports and gaming. I'm also a fight guy and a Forbes contributor on the combat sports and WWE side. So we are talking Manny Pacquiao and Mikey Garcia today. And I want to ping off of an article written by my fellow fight guy, Peter Kahn, and we're going to talk about Manny's next fight. You may or may not have read this article. Essentially, what it's saying is that Manny Pacquiao is not going to fight Mikey Garcia in his next fight. And I know there's a lot of talk going on around that. You look on social media and you look these different places and they're saying, yeah, oh, well, they're working on the deal July 11th, Saudi Arabia. And we know for a fact that so many big fights have been headed there, both with the UFC and MMA, and even in WWE. We've seen a lot of events take place in Saudi Arabia. So it makes sense. And also we heard about over a month ago, or about a month ago, that Manny Pacquiao had signed with Paradigm Management Company, which is the same management company as Conor McGregor. And so we immediately thought there were some seeds being planted there. But there's very good reason to believe, and to the point where I'm nearly 99%, nearly 100% sure that this will not happen. And there's very good reason to believe that. And Peter points out a lot of those things in his article. So first and foremost, let's just talk about who's pushing this narrative when it comes to Mikey Garcia and Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao is signed a management deal. His manager, boxing manager, is Al Haymon. That's how he got involved with the whole Premier Boxing Champions, PBC, in that whole group, right? But Manny is still his own promoter. So Al Haymon's not technically a promoter, even though he functions somewhat like that, but he's not technically a promoter. So that allows his fighters technically to go to work with any other promotion if they want, but usually they'll stay within that Showtime, you know, PBC little umbrella, but they can step out and do some other different things, which is what you saw to a degree with Deontay Wilder fighting Tyson Fury for the second time. And there's some other instances of that, right? So because of that, Manny can kind of do a lot of what he wants, and he's a special case anyway because he's Manny Pacquiao and he has such status. So Eddie Hearn, who is the president of Matchroom, has been trying to maneuver and to get a fighter who he's been dealing with recently, with Mikey Garcia. He has this short-term deal with Mikey Garcia, and he is trying to make haste to make a huge fight for Mikey Garcia while he is still working with Matchroom, and perhaps maybe he can extend that deal out with Mikey Garcia even past this. But of course, he definitely wants to hit windfall by having set up a great fight or a huge money fight for Mikey Garcia this year, which is why you want him to have this fight he just had with Jesse Vargas a week ago. He wins that fight by unanimous decision, and now Mikey starts to call out Manny Pacquiao, still one of the biggest names, biggest draws in boxing. And they want to do it in Saudi Arabia, where they can get all these huge site fees, all of this huge revenue behind this fight. Eddie Hearn wants this fight. He's trying to broker this deal, and he's not really stepping on toes necessarily, because he's not stepping on Al Haymon's toes, because Al Haymon's technically not functioning as a promoter. Manny is the actual promoter, and so is Eddie Hearn. So he can have a conversation with Manny from a promoter to promoter standpoint. And if they can come up with a deal, they can. But here's the thing, though. Manny doesn't need Eddie Hearn to help broker this deal. If Manny wants to fight whomever he wants to fight, he can set that up. He doesn't need Eddie Hearn to insert himself here in this situation. So that's the thing. Eddie Hearn has to convince Manny Pacquiao that his presence is needed. And from what I'm understanding, Manny is really getting now that, or not getting, Manny is, it's become apparent to Manny and his team that arrangement is not really necessary. This actually kind of goes back to him signing, or supposedly signing, with Paradigm. Now, we saw there was a tweet that came out from Audi Attar, which I've told you that's his management company, that he was incredibly proud to announce that Paradigm is officially representing Manny Pacquiao. I wanted to thank everybody involved in that, including partners Arnold, Ping, Addy, Brando, Jake, and the rest of the team Pacquiao back in Manila. They cannot wait to work together. Now, that was back on February 11th. We are here at March 4th, and we have not seen another communication, another tweet, another anything since then. And Peter references a few very important social media insights and numbers in his article. He says that there's been well over 2,000 tweets mentioning both McGregor and Pacquiao between February 11th and February 12th, which means obviously when he signs with Paradigm that conversation is going to kick up. There's another 2,700 tweets mentioning both Pacquiao and Garcia from February 11th to March 2nd. With 1,100 tweets coming on March 2nd, the day after Garcia beat Vargas. So what this shows essentially is that when anything happens, there's this surge of social media activity that's based or generally centered around this whole, whatever the narrative is that's being pushed. And this is generally done by design, but it doesn't necessarily mean that this is where things are heading. What I think is more telling is the fact that since this tweet originally came out on February 11th from Adi Attar, not one word has been spoken by Adi Attar or Manny Pacquiao further confirming or pushing or even marketing or talking up this union that they supposedly have, and talking about any of the projects or any of the potential fights, any business that these two sides could be doing or should be doing if they are truly in partnership. And from what I've learned, it seems as though there's some sort of hiccup or snag in this deal. There could be some different situations where lawyers are involved. There's a lot of things that could be going on here. And there's strong reason to believe that this particular partnership is not going to continue to move forward in the way that it was originally presented. I don't know how it's going to work, but there's a strong indication out here that it can't move forward as it is currently, as it was originally pushed out. So that's one thing to realize. Manny doesn't appear really willing to fight Mikey Garcia. It's not about him dodging anybody. I think we all know at this point, Manny Pacquiao is not the type of guy that's going to duck a fighter. He's fought everybody there is within several weight regions over his career. I don't think that's what it's about. I do think that it is about, in some way, shape, or form, staying in some sort of working relationship with Al Haymon, because he is dealing with him, or was originally signed with him as his manager, and also keeping his options open for some of these other bigger fights, bigger money fights that he could get, potentially Floyd Mayweather if he ever stops playing around with that opportunity. And then, of course, I think he knows whether he deals with Adi Attar or not with Paradigm, he's going to still have an option to fight Conor McGregor if that's what Conor McGregor wants to do. We don't know how that's going to work. I believe that there are three fighters that, at least three fighters that Pacquiao is much more likely to face. I will talk about those fighters. I don't want to run this video too long. I'll talk about those fighters in another video. But I wanted to let you guys know you don't believe at all that Manny is going to fight Mikey Garcia next. That just, I mean, things can change. Things can change. But from what we understand, there's still a working relationship with Manny and Al Haymon. And any thought that that is not still in place is speculation. There's nowhere where we should be able to really validate that. I know there are some boxing journalists that are jumping on the bandwagon in regards to Pacquiao going to fight, or Mikey Garcia, or that being worked on. I know Mike Coppinger, who is definitely a friend of the Fight Guys, he says that Eddie has the next couple of weeks to try to close a deal, which is true. But from my understanding, the likelihood of that happening is not high. So we'll see what happens moving forward. But in closing, don't bet on Pacquiao versus Garcia taking place in Saudi Arabia or even at all. I appreciate you watching as always. God bless and peace.